Hello. Anyone who has seen the FIB DM data model derived from the FIB ontology will know that it's a large model. Even the core model, which you can download for free, is large. I can see here my ER Studio version of that model. Down in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, I can see that there are over 1,000 entities and almost 2,500 relationships. In ER Studio, those relationships include inheritance links from parent to child in the subtyping hierarchy, and the subtyping hierarchy in this model is very deep. What we can see here is the main model diagram, which has not been touched by human hand. The computer created this one, and I'm completely ignoring it because this diagram contains everything in the model. What I want to show you just now is how you can create what I call a proximity diagram. Here is a proximity diagram that I created in PowerDesigner and I imported into ER Studio when I imported the whole model. You can see I've got an entity in the middle which is deposit account, and that the diagram contains everything that links to it. You can see it takes part in 3 subtype hierarchies. On the left we've got the 2 parents that it has, investment or deposit account and banking product. And to the right we can see that it has itself a couple of subtypes. It also has a couple of child relationships. So it is the parent of a relationship to provides and to has party and role. This was automatically created in PowerDesigner. I'll show you how in a minute. The point of this is to see how can I create such a thing in ER Studio. First of all, I'm going to find the entity I'm interested in, and I'm going to do it for the account entity. I select the entity account, and I have to wait a little bit because it then highlights it in the main diagram. There we go. Go to the model menu, and then say I want to create a submodel. I'm going to call it account proximity, if I can type, following the naming standard I was using in the others. Now I'm going to edit the submodel, so I'm going to choose extra content to go in there. I need to find the account entity again. Here it is. And then over here on the left I say select related objects, then click on the button, and there they are. If I click on OK now, it creates the submodel. The submodel automatically has a diagram. It uses all the default styles. It unfortunately puts all the symbols in a pile, but that's easy to remedy. Because this is a proximity diagram, I'm going to make it left to right hierarchical, the same as my others. And there I have it. This is equivalent to my deposit account diagram, except it's showing the same thing for account. There's nothing to the left of account because that is one of the top level entities in this model, so it doesn't have any parents. You'll notice that there is one subtype hierarchy, and there are 2 subtypes, bank account and financial service account. But because I selected just what was linked to this through one level, I've only got one level of subtyping there. Now this is fine. This could be exactly what I want. But there is another kind of diagram that my PowerDesigner extension can create. That is the hierarchy diagram. So for example, if I run this in PowerDesigner, select the account entity, it will give me all the subtype structure below account. And if any of those entities are also subtypes of something else, those structures will appear as well. So you can imagine, let me put this another way. Let me show you how I would do that. Switch to PowerDesigner. here is my account entity. Now I can create the proximity diagram easily enough. It's followed the same rules as I followed in ER Studio, but it's all scripted, so it did all this itself. And now I'm going to get the same answer. It looks different because it's a different tool and the orientation's right to left instead of left to right on this one, but it's basically the same diagram. Now look to see about the full hierarchy below account. Not too bad actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 levels. What if I was to do address? I want to create the hierarchy diagram for the address entity. Surely that's not very complex, is it? Let's zoom out and have a look. Oh, right, yes. There is a lot to that, isn't there? Ah, can I recreate that diagram in ER Studio? I wonder. Well, I got to save this. And let's look at address. If I want the hierarchy for address, first of all I have to find, well actually there are a number of ways I could do this. I could click on the model, wait for the diagram to come up, click on memory, model, create submodel. I want to call it if I want to do the account hierarchy, I need to find the account entity. There it is. Select everything related. And actually I want to select everything because I know it's 7 levels down. I'll get my 7 levels. Move everything across. And say go. Let it create that for me. Now that selection is really quick. I like that. But in my hierarchy diagrams, I want to be focused. I don't want to show things that aren't part of the hierarchy. Let me lay this diagram out again. Welcome back. Here's the diagram. It now actually has too much on it. If I edit the submodel, many of these things here are not subtypes. These are all the subtype clusters, as they call them in ER Studio, that are included, so they're probably all okay, but maybe not. Let me cancel the layout. Is there a quicker way of doing this? Because I still have to cut this down, remember? Well, yes, there is. Remember my diagrams in PowerDesigner? I can actually import that. Let's go back to ER Studio, and I'm going to close this model. What I'm going to do now is import that PowerDesigner model I created that's got the extra diagrams in it. So that's the only difference between it and my other model in ER Studio, is it's got different diagrams in with different content. Make sure I import from the right one. Put it in the right place. I'll overwrote one I did earlier. I could probably save time if I deleted the unnecessary packages and diagrams in the PowerDesigner model. There's a lot less for it to import, but here I've got them all, so I'm doing all of it. Just wait for ER Studio to open the model that it's just created. Here we go. It's created this model, and what you should notice is I have the account hierarchy diagram in here, the account proximity, and the address hierarchy. They would be a little easier to see if I hadn't kept all the others. What I want to do is I'll just tidy those up before I move them. While I remember, lay this one out, hierarchical top to bottom, and do the same for this one. And the proximity diagram I will do from left to right. There we go. So I've amended those 3 diagrams. What I need to do now is merge them into the original model. And I do that from the model menu. I need the submodel sync utility. There's a warning that you can't undo this. The only way to undo it is not to actually save the file, and I want to update my current model. Click on next. So the way this works is you are synchronizing, or basically making another model look like this one. There's only a logical model in the target model, which is fine. I go through these settings, these are fine for me. The next thing I have to do is tell it which submodels I want to synchronize. So I've got my address hierarchy. So I'm going to update those 2. Click on Finish, because ER Studio already has all the information it needs, it just has to copy it across. It doesn't copy any entities across from one model to another, effectively, from my perspective, just the diagrams. So I've got my account hierarchy diagram, my account proximity diagram, and my address hierarchy diagram. They all have now come across from PowerDesigner and overridden what I'd created before, proving that it can be useful to have access to both tools, making the best of the facilities available in each tool. Thank you. Goodbye.